Hi guys, it's Donovan from Charlie Playable. I am going to be doing a deck profile on a Rena Corona deck. I think it is the best combination of the new champ for Rena, and I think if we do rotate or just have some different support, especially for this Dino deck, that it could be a very meta deck in the future. Alright, so first up, I play 3 Egg. I think Egg is a good card in the deck. It helps slow down more aggressive decks. The issue with it is when you do play in like a control mirror match, I find myself killing the Egg myself rather than getting like the Guardian value out of it to search for something like Destroy a Source. The next card is Mesozoan Hatchling. This card is good just specifically because turn 1 you can play it, and if you do play it turn 1, you can start swinging at towers thereafter. Obviously, you're not going to be breaking towers, but the big point is you do want to build up a lot of resource under Rena right away. Next card I play, and this one is something that's a lot different than a lot of people, is I play 3 Voidfire Shadow. The big reason for this is just to have a myriad of like 1-drops that you can play and just start attacking towers right away. I don't think its survivability is super relevant. Obviously, there would be a situation where you only need 1 shard to use Expulsion. But I think the correct build for this deck, in my opinion, is playing a lot of these smaller units to be able just to start getting cards under Rena like right away. And along with that, I do have Ashworn Sprite. I think this card's good just simply, again, for being a 1k like 1-drop, but also being able to play it for free. Say you're playing a matchup against a Gillian deck, and they play guards, or like a Jamile deck, and they play like guards turn 1. Well, you already get this on board, and you can start swinging without even having 1 shard drawn, or, well, after you drew your first shard. Next card, pretty standard. I think this is one of the best cards in the deck. Obviously, 3 of your Ruka. Obviously, really good just to be able to swing into units. I think it's really good against things like Liam, being able to give it Brawler and just swing over 002. Worst case scenario, usually you just crash. Other than that, free kills, and obviously it works like a visitor. Alright, and next we do have Bambino. I like Bambino just for the fact that it's a 2-drop 1500. Obviously, the more dinos and fire units in this deck, the merrier. The ruin ability is really nice because if your opponent did attack, and you have Bambino out, obviously the next turn you can attack into that exhausted unit, crash it, and then your ruin ability would trigger, and you'd be able to destroy that. Also, obviously, stacking it for my next card here, which is the Underlord, on a unit, or to destroy a unit that's already taken damage, is really nice too. Okay, and then the next cards I have are the Underlord of Voidflame. I play 2. I don't think it's a super great card in the deck. I think it is very situational, but I think against some decks you do need to be able to just play a lot quicker. Basically, I use it more for discard fodder and obviously to trigger Bambino. Next card is the other best card in the deck, Destroyosaurus. Obviously, it is one of the main things in the deck, being able to just discard off a Corona and then pop something in Destroyosaurus or swing with one of your smaller units, since I do play 9 units, I believe, that are 1-drops, and then another 5 that are 2-drops, and just being able to trigger Rena and then drop this to pop a card. It gets over things like in Gillian, it gets over Gigants, which can't be targeted by spells, which is really nice out without having to use Corona. Next thing, you have 2 Mesozoan Raptor. I think it's really good against things like Liam or 002, Hadir even, just blinking their units. I was playing 3 for a while, but then I decided that it kind of doesn't have a ton of relevance at points. It is nice because you can drop this turn 2 if you attacked with like the Dino turn 1, the Hatchling. But it is nice being able, after turn 5, to stop your opponent from being super aggressive with like 002. Next, 1 visitor. I think it's pretty standard. It doesn't come up a lot, but I feel like having a visitor that you can use to to flip your spirit back up rather than having to attack with Ruka is really nice because there are decks that can stall out and stop you from attacking with the Ruka. Okay, and this is one thing I do have a preference on that a lot of people don't, is I like playing 3 Terratops. I think this combo with Jurassic Swipe is one of the best combos in the entire deck, especially if you're able to get 2 on board and being able just to lock your opponent out of attacking or using spells on anything. Also, the fact that even if you just have 1 and you Guardian something that if they want to attack, they have to commit suicide in this after you have 6 shards. Alright, next is just one of the Mesozoan Opteryx. Really good card. I think it's very situational, but if you, say, have this out, and you do have something like the Hatchling, it blanks things like Sophia. They do have to deal with the Hatchling first, or deal with this just in general. It does force cards out of your opponent's hand. So next is just another one of, it's Herald of Tyrannus. I know a lot of people aren't playing this card. I like it as a one of, just in case, because there are some times where you can't get to your Destroyosaurus, but you can draw this, and even then you can pop, or use that to pop a unit, and then play something like the Terratops, just to be able to have a Guardian on board, or have another thing you can use Swipe on. Alright, next, just 2 Herd Mother. I think this card is just okay in most matchups. I think against other control decks, things like blue decks, it has a lot of relevance. I think it can definitely take over an entire game because they do have to deal with it using something like Sophia, which a lot of the times you can play this. They can drop their Sophia and then you can Expulsion it, or they have to Chronostasis. And then the big boy Tyrannus. I can't tell you how many times I've won games basically with this, just being able to hit the tower, the last tower, like a dark tower, when I don't want to hit it with something that'll take a card out of my hand, just to stop my opponent and be able to drop something else to have quickness to swing for game. Definitely one of the best cards in the entire game, to be honest, in my opinion. It being able to be targeted kind of sucks, but the fact that it blanks literally every unit in the game except for something like Gigant that has 5,500 power makes this card broken in a lot of situations. Just being able to even do things like play this and then discard off Corona and then be able to drop Destroyosaurus to kill a Juggernaut. Alright, and then we have spell lineup. 2 Expulsion, I feel like this is pretty standard. A lot of people play 3. I play 2 simply because I feel like it doesn't, or it's really good obviously, but I don't want to play a lot of spells to bog down my unit count. Next is I play Jurassic Swipe. I think this is actually by far the best card in the deck. You can single-handedly take over games just with this. I think you have to play this deck a lot more control-y. So when it comes down to it, being able to exhaust one of your dinos, kill one of their units, return this to hand, by turn 8, you basically have a board wipe that you can just keep recycling with this. And then the last 2 cards are 2 Shockwave. I know a lot of people also, from what I heard, aren't playing this. I do think this is a really good card. I think it's worth playing, especially if you can just sit there and destroy things mostly with Swipe and just burn things and destroy them with all your other combos. I think Shockwave, you can just hold on to it till late game when it can really make an impact, especially against high, spammy decks like Liam and Hadir. Turn 7, you can just board wipe or just hit a bunch of your units even and just exhaust all their shards and put yourself in a really good position to get a lot more advantage the next turn. So this is my deck. The big thing that I do different than a lot of people is I don't play a random package. I don't feel like it's necessary in the deck. Also, I only play 7 cards that don't trigger Rena. It's a consistency thing. I think you need a high volume of units in this deck. As you can see, if I'm playing only 7 cards, I have 33 fire units in this deck that can trigger Rena, and it leads to a lot more control over the game without even having to use much resource. I think being able to stack a bunch of cards under Rena, then turn 7 have 8 cards under her, to just have unlimited resource just to keep playing one dino after another whether it be from your discard or your hand, to just control the entire game is insane. So yeah, that is my Rena Corona deck profile. I do think that this version of the deck is really consistent, really good. There are a couple things I still do want to try with it, like testing, just maybe even cutting like the Shockwave for more fire units just to make it more consistent. So yeah, thank you for watching.